Richard Del Connor is the philosopher poet of the hippie generation.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Richard Del Connor Philosopher Poet podcast. And at the end of this series, we've gone through all the songs of the Oboy album here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go through another website. There's like 5 different websites that I think are going to market my products here. And I basically wanted the challenge of creating my first videos of taking you to one of my websites. I've never done that before. The last 2 that I did were my first. My third one. Okay, so here we go. We're going to look at a website of mine that has not been updated. One of the reasons I'm slowing me down is I've been updating all my websites, and I wanted to be ready for this podcast, and I'm not. But anyway, it will be ready at some point. Hopefully I can hire somebody to help me out here. But here we go. Let me show you what I got. Today we're going to explore a website called RichardDelConnor.com. My legal name. My middle name's Del, D-E-L with 1 L. And Connor is C-O-N-N-O-R. RichardDelConnor.com. So that's my legal name. So that's a website that nobody else should have except me. Because that's me. Nobody else is me. One of the reasons I use that name is because there's a lot of Richard Connors. I mean, a lot of Richard Connors. A lot of Richard O'Connors, too. So anyway, point being is this is my special website. I call it my record producer website. In other words, I figured that it's not going to be a website where I basically represents me for everything I do. This would represent me as a record producer, maybe even a songwriter or something, but more the record producer is always what I've thought of this website being. So as I put products on here, it's not that I wrote the songs or that I performed on them, it's that I produced this album. It's kind of the way I wanted to look at it. But here we go. RichardDelConnor.com. Okay, and I've actually went ahead and the links over here on the left, they go across the top on our following pages. We'll just click over here randomly. See how they change? And they change. There's not as many, and they've changed a little bit. And I also noticed that my picture up here, which I always thought would take me back to the home page, sometimes it takes me over to KungFuCowboy.com. I don't think that's fair. I mean, there's a home button here, but I thought I found a page where there was not a home button. But anyway, if I hold this over here, and I look down here at the bottom, you can see down here at the bottom of the screen, if you look down here in the bottom of the corner, it says KungFuCowboy.com. So if I click on that, that's where it's going to go. So just out of curiosity, yeah, they're all going there. But if we go back to some of these earlier ones, like that resume list, and we look on it, see now, let's go on to KungFuCowboy.com. All right. Well, anyway, it looks like maybe I think they should all go to the homepage. Maybe I should change that. All right, so let's get started here. Okay, so going back to this first one, this is the home page. Looking up here, we can see that's RichardDelConnor.com. Record producer, see, it even says right there, and founder of Shaolin Records. So that's what I wanted to focus this website on being. All right, so if we look at my home page, we can see a list of stuff over here. My newest project, which is not my newest project because this hasn't been updated in 10 years. A lot of this stuff, but everything that's here is still here, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that's supposed to be here that's not here. So you can check all this out. Eventually, maybe I'll have to take some of this stuff out so I can put more, keep more pertinent, so I'll have to take stuff off instead of just adding it on top. But right now, you can kind of see what some of the home pages have said before. Okay, but anyway, I don't know, do I want to say anything about this? Okay, check all this out yourself. I mean, it might be fun reading it to you. Well, let's read this first one because it says June 2014, 11 years ago. You have got to get this record. Nobody did. That'd be nice if they did. I wouldn't be homeless. But anyway, I guarantee you'll like it. How about that? I've tested it on my neighbors, gang members, and anyone I could put a pair of headphones on. Yeah, people like this record. They just don't buy it, and now everybody's streaming. I don't make any money off streaming. Actually, that's not true. I think I make probably about maybe $100 a year on streaming, maybe. Okay, here we go. Okay, I guarantee you'll like it. This album rocks, and amazingly, I recorded it in my truck. This album is about my life and past 2 years since my family broke up. I've been bouncing around, working as a stagehand, shoveling dirt, writing screenplays, writing the Super Soul 13 book, and performing this album. Yeah, I mean, this was my last phase of trying to perform, trying to connect to the audience and find some fame. Didn't happen. But goes to show you how long I've been doing it, since I started when I was 16 years old, which would have been 1970. Well, actually earlier than that. I was performing in my bands when I was 13 years old. That'd be 67. So 1967, as a rocker, I was playing trombone and piano before that, but as a rock and roll, 1967 was my first gigs playing for school dances and parties. So since 67 till now, I don't know, what are we talking about? 58 years or something. You got to be able to laugh at failure. Well, my failure was actually, I thought it should have been a success. So the fact that nobody bought it doesn't mean that I'm not as proud of it. If they would have bought it, I would be just as proud of it. I would just be proud of making some money too. That'd be an add-on. Okay, the Kung Fu Cowboy Rock and Roll Movie 1. This is also back in 2014. By the way, we did, it was the next year in 2015, which is not here on this website. I entered this screenplay the next year, because we finished it, I think, in 2014. But the next year in 2015, I entered it into one film festival. And it was the Action on Film Festival. A lot of people recommended it because it's it's geared towards action movies. And the Kung Fu Cowboy, which was me, but it's a fictional story of me, is about me, my family breaking up because my co-writer knew that that's the phase I was coming out of, and how I was basically battling a local mafia. So it was me against this local mafia, and one of my kids gets kidnapped and stuff. It's an interesting movie, and it's got all my music in it. But anyway, point being, we won first place. Well, there's only one place. So in other words, for that, in the Action on Film Festival, they give out a bunch of different awards for different things or whatever. But for the best action scenes in a movie, we got first place. We won that award. We won that award and won that a trophy. At the Action on Film Festival, we won the screenplay with the best action scenes in the screenplay. So this is a hot movie. I mean, it's got action in it. We won the first place award for that. But anyway, most of my updates this last year are at kungfucowboy.com. Oh yeah, this is because I was working over at Scott's house. So I was able to use a computer over there. But anyway, the Kung Fu Cowboy Rock and Roll Movie 1 movie has been my life and world the past year. I broke down the screenplay and budgeted it. Then I got some professional UPMs, unit production managers, the people who actually work on movies to handle the money and spend it and keep track of it, to look over my budget. They corrected me and complimented me. So that's done. I have a budget of $12.5 million to make this movie union in Los Angeles, a union movie. So I can do it for like 25% of that if I go non-union and whatever. But to make this a union movie, I can do it for $12 million. We started with a $200,000 movie, totally non-union, to be shot in Super 8. Looked like Super B. It could have worked, but would require lots of freebies and donated work. So $200,000, if I just gotten out of film school and I had all my friends and connections and I was working in the business, I could probably pull it off, get people to help out for almost nothing. It could have worked, but would require lots of freebies and donated work. My UCLA film school buddies have all gone to greater heights and are not available for favors. That's not saying I didn't try. I had to go through their agents, and stuff. And their agents, I don't think they were forwarding their stuff to them because they knew I wasn't paying big bucks. Anyway, so we budgeted it at $4 million. That was when I started learning all the changes in union requirements and special effects budgets, which raised it to $8 million. So I thought changing it from $200,000 to union would be about $4 million. And so I tried to build everything and make it union and all the costs. And my goal was to make it $4 million, but it turned out to be $8 million to really keep all the things and pay all the overtime and everything. I like that number. And I worked hard to keep it at $8 million, but I was relearning the movie business, and had a few more lessons to learn. Finally, I got the budget to $12.5 million, which included a huge $500,000 reward for the executive producer or persons obtaining the financing. So $500,000 of that was just to get reward whoever put the money together. So if somebody could come up with 13, or what I finally say, if somebody could come up with $13 million, they'd get $500,000 fee for doing it. So anyway, I had a bunch of people trying. I put that hook out there, and I actually baited it, and a few people said they would do it and made them sign a release saying, that I would give them that deal. But nobody else was able to. But I did try. I've tried to get other people to help me, but that didn't work out either. That was a year ago. So now wages have increased, but I'm not redoing the budget. So now I've got a financier, a big money broker who builds hospitals and businesses around the world. The money is coming into the USA via Germany. Better be soon. Now, I didn't finish this story because I had to actually, they tried to sue me for talking about it. But the company that gave me this money, they actually, I for, I don't know, a week or so, maybe half a week, 1 week, I was a millionaire. I had $18 million. And they wanted to give me more, which made a lot of people suspicious. They just wanted to pump as much money as they could into me because they were laundering money. And so Homeland Security took my money away. I was only a millionaire for 1 week. I had 18 million bucks. But then Homeland Security took it away from me. It made it as far as Bank of America in, well, maybe I shouldn't say which city it is because we don't want to bring people in. But yeah, Bank of America. And when they were trying to transfer it into my Wells Fargo account, that's when Homeland Security kicked in. And they traced the money because when that big of money, they see where it came from. They could see that money had come from Germany, but then before it came from Germany, it had come from Panama, which I didn't know. I knew it was coming from Germany, but I didn't realize that it had come from Panama. So maybe it's all drug money or something. I don't know. But I don't care. It's just money. All money's probably been spent on drugs at some point. You pull a dollar bill out of your money, out of your wallet. Who knows how many drugs that dollar bill is paid for? Since it was printed. But anyway, that was a real heartbreak. I was never able to overcome that. Came that close to making that movie. I had the money, and then they took it away from me. So that story's not here. And when I tried to mention it, bring it up in LinkedIn and stuff like that, they said they'd sue me for talking about it. So. Very limited what I can say about that whole thing because I can't afford an attorney. And they can afford an attorney. So if they can sue me, but I can't fight them. So anyway, that's a whole story in itself, which I can't really talk about, but I told you that much. We'll leave it at that. Okay, down here below that, the year before it, I did an update. Look at that. Scorpion Resurrection. And, here's the Level 2, Part 2. Now, I did like a secret release of that album. Because I was homeless and I really couldn't do it the way I wanted to, but I was afraid I was going to die being homelessness. I was close to death a lot of times. A lot of murders going on and stuff. But anyway, point being is I actually released it and then didn't tell anybody, so at least I knew it was out there somewhere. And so this album has been released, Level 4, Part 2. Let's see what I say here. I just noticed I hadn't updated this page in a while. Like a year. Well, actually, yeah, almost a year, because I'm looking at the previous update. I moved to San Diego to relaunch the nonprofit organization Tai Chi Youth. Oh, I wonder what I say here. Well, I'll just read it. I'm curious because this is 12 years ago, and it failed. It totally failed. I had to leave San Diego because I realized my relatives weren't going to help me, my parents weren't going to help me, my brothers weren't going to help me. All my school friends I'd grown up with, who I'd talked to a little bit, and said, "Oh, I'll enroll my kids in your school and stuff." But by the time I got there, the kids were either grown up or whatever, and couldn't find anybody that I knew who'd join my school. So I had no connection. I had no viable connections. I had a couple of connections with some rich people, but my relatives refused to connect me to them and help me. So the whole going to San Diego was only proved to me that San Diego is of no use to me. None of my relatives, none of my friends, even musicians I'd played with, they turned me down and wouldn't play with me when I went down there. Of course, I think my brother had some, well, I won't want to say, but certain people may have been working against me when I went down there. So when I left San Diego, my dad says, "Don't come back to San Diego. The family doesn't want you here." That's what he said. I mean, my dad was nice. I was sleeping on his living room floor. So it's not like he didn't want me there, but he realized the rest of the family didn't want me there in San Diego. So he told me not to come back. He says, "Don't bother coming back." He says, "It's just, you're not going to ever be happy coming back." So that was interesting to hear from my father. So that was, yeah. All right, where were we? Well, do I read? Okay. It was important to exhaust this possibility. Yeah, of going down there to form my nonprofit. My relatives and childhood friends, I should just read what I wrote here. What am I talking for? My relatives and childhood friends had made words of hope and encouragement to me about coming home to San Diego. Now I know it's important to me to leave San Diego again. This is right before I left, I guess. The song, March 2013. Yes, that's actually right when I left. This is written the month that I left. I must have left days after I wrote this and never gone back. Well, went back for my dad's funeral last year. The song Scorpion Resurrection was just written a few days ago. Yeah, I remember writing that in my dad's living room. It sums it up and fits nicely as the theme song to my upcoming movie, Kung Fu Cowboy Rock and Roll Movie 1. So in other words, the Star Wars, each one of those movies, there's like 6 or how many of them. They have another name of them, like Saving the Empire or something, But anyway, Star Wars this. So the Kung Fu Cowboy is the Star Wars, and then there's Rock and Roll Movie 1, Movie 2, and Movie 3, and Movie 4. But I thought, well, rather than saying Movie 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, although it's nice to keep them in order, maybe I should give them a theme song, and the theme song needs to be more substantial. So this was a theme song I wrote for this movie, and it relates to the movie, and the lyrics do too. Okay, where were we? Co-producer Scott Carahadian and I finished a screenplay for his birthday a couple of weeks ago. You're going to love it. Yeah, remember, that's the one that won first place. The movie begins with my Kung Fu school not making enough money to support my family. True story. Then I become homeless. True story. Then I am stung in the neck by a scorpion. True story. Happened while working as a stagehand for a Brad Paisley concert near the Mexican border in October 2012. Oh, glad to remember that. I might not be able to pull that date out, but October 2012 was when I got stung in the neck by that scorpion. Life-changing. Then I swell up and can't walk. True story. Then I become a kung fu musician, vigilante hero with 4 spirits that can... And ... and then I put true story with a question mark. This is where I go off into fantasy a little bit. Okay, and follow the Kung Fu story and making of the movie at kungfucowboy.com. So when I wrote this, I actually thought things were still moving forward, and that movie was going to get made. But it hasn't gotten made, obviously. All right, well, let's go back to the previous year, 2012. What level are you on? Wow, a lot has happened in the past 2 years. I've moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, to learn lion dancing. I became homeless in Las Vegas and began working in the entertainment business for Rhino Staging after 2 decades as a Mr. Mom. This picture of me and my Strat, looks like it says straight, it's supposed to be Strat, was taken at one of the last gigs I performed in a Tahunga concert house, or concert, when they did concerts in their houses. There was a concert house concerts. Maybe there's another way to put those words there. But actually this picture may have been from The Smell, a kind of a punk club down in Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles, that same year. That's what I'm thinking now when I read this, but maybe I forgot. Anyway, let's keep going here. My daughter moved out with her boyfriend. My ex-wife sent my son to be raised by her father in Augusta, Georgia. I'm living in a camper on the back of my dark green 1996 Toyota Tacoma truck named Davy Cricket. Although I might have had that name right then, I never used it after that. I never called it Davy Cricket after that, but that's funny. My car is a combination of Jiminy Cricket and Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. But anyway, I guess my attitude kind of changed as it became difficult being a homeless person, less of a sense of humor. I'm not sure whether I'm on vacation or just enjoying life too much. I want to be a record producer again. Yeah, living out of my car, it's kind of hard to go from there to making $1 million producing records. All right, what level are you on? Well, it looks like a week before that I wrote something. American Zen has been weaving a tale of spiritual growth since 1992 with the release of Level 1 equals Peace of Mind. This album depicted Coyote's struggle for peace of mind in Salt Lake City after being badly advised to move there in 1991. The peace of mind struggle is the basic human condition of survival. Coyote slept in his van, dealt with thieves, and got burned by family members. Yeah, That's a story in itself, which I do tell in some songs. Eventually, Coyote was able to settle into Utah life and become a Kung Fu and Tai Chi instructor at 6 different schools, 5 churches, and Salt Lake City's Liberty Park. Raising his daughter as a Mr. Mom, Coyote saw the world clearly from this survival, animalistic, human family viewpoint. By 1994, Coyote was established and semi-famous in Salt Lake City, Utah. There, but nowhere else. The governor knew him, the mayor knew him, the chief of police knew him, and every martial arts school in Utah knew him as a tournament judge and editor of the Utah Black Belt magazine. Yeah, they hired me for that. They actually asked me to help them out because they saw me publishing some news articles and stuff. They realized I could write, unlike most martial artists. Coyote's hassles with the Mormons subsided as many became students and friends. This insight into the Mormon lifestyle is the album Level 2 equals Christ Killer by American Zen. Coyote depicts, in fact, if you click on like that Christ Killer thing, it takes you, it's the same website, and there it is. And a download button. You can actually buy it from this website, it would appear. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, where were we? Yeah, some stuff, I've been set up to sell stuff. It's just nobody buys stuff. I don't know if anybody visits my websites or whatever goes there. But it would appear not. Anyway, you can buy, people could be buying stuff for the last 20 years if they wanted to, and I wouldn't be homeless. But nobody's buying anything. But anyway, where were we? Coyote depicts the various lifestyles of conformity, polygamy, and spirituality from an inside viewpoint of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yeah, I became real good friends, intimate friends with a lot of those people. They weren't quitting their church to join my school. Although a lot of people who did join my church or my school, my Shaolin Chi Mantis Kung Fu school, were called disenfranchised Mormons, which means they'd basically been kicked out or couldn't remain in the Mormon religion for various reasons. Anyway, level 2 is about how religion affects the life for good and bad. The Christ killers are the people who use religion to hurt other people. Most people don't even make it to level 2 anymore. Most people don't have a religion anymore. Most people don't believe in God anymore. Most people are still in level 1 searching for peace of mind. Or how to be happy and content and have a full stomach. Have your bills paid. Now here's a picture of the level 3 album. I Want You to Love Me by American Zen. When Siddhartha sat beneath the Bodhi tree and began his Buddhist enlightenments, he was rising beyond religions to achieve level 3. In other words, he didn't form really a religion. There's no gods in Buddhism. So Buddhism is going beyond worshiping or believing in God. I mean, you can believe in him, but it doesn't become part of your daily life because you realize it doesn't matter what you say to him, you're not going to hear anything back. So there's other people you can talk to who will respond. And prayers, in fact, when I was homeless, people would say, I'll pray for you. And I was getting lots of free food at church. So we're praying for you. We said lots of prayers for you yesterday. I said, no, please stop that. It seems to be getting worse, because my homeless condition, did not improve. It only got worse. I was surviving for 6 years. It was really just hard life homelessness. But anyway, I said, no, please don't pray for me. It looks like it's not working. It's working the opposite way. People freak out. Really, you don't want me to pray for you? I go, no. Buy something for me. That will improve my life. But I have no proof whatsoever that praying is going to help me. So if you want to help me, buy something. But these people really didn't care enough to spend $5 or $10 on a product or even $3 for an ebook. They were just praying. Anyway. So me and prayer, but it's going to be interesting because like I said, I've talked to spirits and maybe even God himself. And so it's not like I totally disagree with the whole thing, but I have seen no evidence that, especially from me or anyone around me or regarding me, prayers don't work. So anyway, I feel like I got lots of proof of that. Where were we? When you can see beyond people's race, religion and prejudice and resentment and vengeance and it says few people can see without their prejudice or resentment or vengeance or selfishness. Yeah, we saw that. I mean, that's what Trump's all about. He's all about vengeance, resentment, selfishness, and prejudice. He's all 4 of those things. That's Trump. So, yeah, the opposite of what I'm trying to promote on this album is Trump. So if people had bought my record and loved my music and my attitude, Trump might not be president right now. because I'm the opposite of him. So, yeah, that people chose Trump instead of me. Boo-hoo. Unfortunately, few people can see without their prejudice and resentment. So very few people rise to level 3 of Zen Buddhism. I think it is premature to call someone a Buddha for reaching level 3. But they are at least at the beginning of true enlightenment. Remember, the original Buddha, he just got to level 3 and said, hey, I'm a Buddha. And that was it. He just, all he did was discover the Four Noble Truths, which is a book that I'm publishing. In fact, I'm going to publish 8 books on the Four Noble Truths, because the Four Noble Truths are the heart of Buddhism. And you don't have to be a Buddhist. They're just philosophical concepts that will improve your life. It's like guaranteed. I mean, they've existed for 2,500 years, and they've never heard anybody say there's something wrong with those Four Noble Truths or what they can do for you. Not one single person in over 2,000 years, because they work. So the heart of Buddhism works. Now the heart of Christianity, which is of course to kill people, that works. You know, people are still killing people. That works real good. Where were we? With my family breaking up, all my financial stability was lost. With my kids leaving to follow their mom, I lost my investment in my family business and schools, because I was planning on my kids teaching the classes and taking over and helping me and working in my record company and my music publishing company and my book publishing company and releasing products by them. But they decided they didn't want to write. They didn't want to sing. They didn't want to play music. They didn't work on my websites. They didn't want to write books. They didn't want to help me with any of my projects. They didn't want to. The exact words I heard from both my daughter and my ex-wife were, they just want to be normal people. I heard that several times. That really sums it up. So I am a super normal person is what I am. I am way beyond normal, way beyond normal. So I have to work a lot harder, think a lot harder, and do a lot more things than a normal person. And my kids decided they just wanted to play video games and eat ramen, and that's all they're doing 15 years later. So for the last 15 years, my kids have been eating ramen and playing video games and don't have a job. Oh, they get jobs, but they're just jobs. And that they complain about and talk about how badly they're treated and all this stuff. So anyway, but that's what they gave up. They gave up a life with me to be complaining normal people, unhappy normal people. I don't know that they have that much. Anyway, here we go. With my YMCA Tai Chi classes, CV Park Combat Tai Chi, and Kung Fu boot camps, level 4 has become my world of reconfiguring my own identity and life again. Which brings up something, that Combat Tai Chi. I've had 2 people call me in the last week for Tai Chi classes. And both times they've decided, no, I don't want to, your program doesn't sound right for me, because I don't want to do push-ups. I don't want to do jumping jacks. I just want to move nice and slow like these guys do in these videos. And they actually sent me a couple of links and I went and saw them. It's like, that's not going to make you healthier. It's not going to make you live longer. You stand there and breathe for 10 minutes. I mean, it's not that it's not good for you, but it's just like meditation. Meditation is not a whole body exercise. And that's all they're doing. They're doing the meditation. A stand-up meditation is all they're doing. And that's what most people think Tai Chi is. And they're only like 1% right. That's only 1% of what Tai Chi Chuan is. So anyway, it was interesting talking to these people and saying, well, I am offering you a lot more than you realize exists in Tai Chi, but they didn't want it. No, they just wanted the teeny thing that they already knew existed, and that was it. So it's hard to find people who are motivated enough to actually want to learn real Tai Chi, especially when most people don't even know what it is. Tai Chi Chuan means supreme ultimate boxing style. So in other words, if you can't beat up every single person in the world with my Tai Chi, it's not Tai Chi. It's not Tai Chi Chuan. So real Tai Chi Chuan is the most formidable martial art on the planet. Anybody who graduates my program, becomes a master of my Tai Chi, should be able to fight and beat anybody there is on the planet. That's not saying person doesn't get the first punch in, doesn't win, or you can't lose. But since 1984, which is 41 years ago, not one single student of mine has ever said they lost a fight. And all of them I've had many phone calls of women, especially, calling me and surprised that they actually won their fights. Because we didn't do sparring. I teach them self-defense moves and I show them how the move works. And if you're with me longer, we get into more advanced techniques. But just my beginner program, 25% of what I teach is enough to make people be able to save their lives. and defend themselves against even 3 people who are attacking them in a parking lot with knives. And one person was able to win that battle. So I had that person call and said, wow, I was surprised. Because this wasn't even a very good student. He wasn't with me. I don't know if he was with me an entire... Anyway, we'll see. But anyway, where were we? So anyway, I teach real Tai Chi. But nobody wants real Tai Chi. See, everything I got good quality stuff, but nobody's buying. Nobody will buy it. That's why I'm getting by on food stamps. All right, that's part of the reason that okay. I'm going to need more time to reach level 5. Okay, which I'd already done, so it goes on here. And then Richard's record producer story. Maybe we'll come back and read that another time. I'll do a Richard Del Connor website thing. Right now, we're just kind of relating to this album. So, but I wanted to give you a quick run through, and I'm kind of curious to see what I got here too. Okay, so let's just blast through the website as quickly as we can, because it's already been, what, half an hour? Looking at the timer on my phone. Okay, so we go to the new project. Now look at that. This is actually a new project. Still, I could have released it 4 years ago if I hadn't come down with cancer. The cancer really kicked my butt. Well, it wasn't the cancer. Well, it would have kicked my butt. I'd be dead right now. But the chemotherapy and radiation especially, well, both of them had different effects. So they kicked my butt. So I still haven't finished this album because it's kind of got a negative stigma to it. I haven't been real motivated. I've been doing lots of other stuff. But I got to go back and just get this album finished. It's like super close to being finished. I might have wanted to record some flute on it or something. Which I couldn't have done feeling so crappy. So I don't know. Whatever. I got to go look. I've been just like hiding from this album to finish it. But I got to finish this album, put it out. It's a great album. I really like it. In fact, well, we can talk more about it later when I release it. But anyway, yeah, this is my debut Scorpion debut music album by Kung Fu Cowboy. Remember I told you I was American Zen until 2014. And then I became the Kung Fu Cowboy and I recorded all kinds of stuff. But I haven't released any albums, not one single album. This is going to be the first album by Kung Fu Cowboy. Now I recorded a Richard Del Connor album. Looking over here on the right side, we can see that's Richard Del Connor. So I've actually got like 4 of these albums ready to go, partially recorded. Well, this one's completely. And then I just started this Richard Del Connor because I felt like, I know why. It's because I had all kinds of old stuff. It didn't really represent Kung Fu Cowboy as the me from now. And I wanted to put a whole bunch of oldie songs in here, which was my motivation to go Richard Del Connor. Because when I actually performed these, I was called Rich Connor or Richard Del Connor. So a lot of the live concert stuffs are all Richard Del Connor. So this is actually proper advertising. Anyway, with some new songs. Life You'll Lose. Anything that doesn't say live concert was recorded in this room that we're in right now. Which, by the way, I can see a little sliver. I'm going to move my... it's supposed to be more like this. I must have, when I went out, I moved that strip of light there. This is supposed to be over like that. All right. Now I'm back in my black zone. Okay, so where were we? So yeah, that's the debut up. Okay, so let's just close this. There's not much more to say about it. There should be a sticker to... Well, it says here, more information. Oh, we're going to go to that product page, which may not be here. Okay, so we'll close that one, and we'll go to the next one. The Story of Dickie Dare. This is what my family calls me. My brother still calls me this even, Dickie Dare. Just recently, in the last month, I probably heard him say this a couple of times. But that's what my family calls me. It's cute, but it doesn't really show... I've just realized it doesn't raise their respect level of me. It's more like maybe taking me down a notch, really. Dickie Dare. In fact, my dad, I think, came up with the name when I was a little teeny kid. Anyway, the beginnings of me. We'll come back and take a look at all this stuff later. Because it's going to take too long to read it all right now. You can almost devote one... In fact, that's what we'll do. We'll do one podcast per page. Okay, make it a little briefer. Okay, so anyway, we're on the contact. But you can see most of this stuff over here. These links haven't changed. Now, these are the links I use to show our show. If you look up here on the top, you can see I preloaded a bunch of pages. These are all of these things here. So we can just see what these are. Because there's more links than these in this website. But I figured that would be our good cross-section. So here we go. But this is the website that I want to sell this album on. I don't think it's here. I don't think I've actually loaded it into here, as we'll see. So I'd like to sell the record. And I would like to sell the book. And I'd like to sell the music movie. So I'll create one Oboy page, and I'll offer all 3 of those products on one page here, which I don't think we're going to find right now. Meant to. I wanted to, but I realized it's taking too long. It's been a whole month I've been updating my websites and still not finished. Okay, so here we go. That was this one. The Story of Dickie Dare, The Beginnings of Me. Is this very famous? 1976, I was becoming famous as a recording studio carpenter, not a recording engineer. See, this is important. This is one of the reasons I stopped being a recording engineer. Is because whatever job I do is what people know me for, which is really a shame because I do lots of stuff that I'm not famous for, that you don't know me for. So that's a lot of stuff I'm not getting credit for. But anyway, I realized I didn't want to remodel studios because I didn't want to be known as a remodeler, but I did. I even remodeled the Fleet because of that fame. I actually ended up remodeling Mick Fleetwood's home studio even. And Supertramp, Pink Floyd. I've worked for lots of people, but as a carpenter. I've worked for some people as a session bass player too. But let's see. Where are we? Let's just keep going here. Oh, yeah, cool story, Village Recorder. But these are great memories. The year and a half I spent as a Village Recorder was just awesome, hanging out with Frank Zappa and Fleetwood Mac, Supertramp. Well, I didn't hang out with all of them, but I was there. We were there all day. You know, I wasn't necessarily friends with everybody. Okay, so good. Okay, that's that page. Let's go. That was The Story of Dick. What was that one? About Richard, probably. Okay, so let's close that one. And we'll go to this one. And this is probably Contact Richard. Yeah, getting in touch with Richard Del on the internet. Okay, this website's still good. And that phone number is actually still good. And that's my current address. I have been in here. I have done some updating. And that's me at Wong's West, downstairs. I've performed so many great concerts there. I just love performing there. But anyway, yeah. In fact, this is the stage where Michael J. Fox joined us. And this is my not so famous, but should be famous, plush amp. I love this amp. This amp is just amazing. It's got one big 15-inch speaker there, one big 15-inch speaker there. But it's called a folded horn. So it's sealed in the back, but the sound comes out this middle thing. So it bounces out here, and it puts out this like 15-foot sound wave. So I need like 30 feet at depth. And then you can actually hear this amp to its full potential. It takes like 30 feet for the whole sound wave to come out. It's called a folded horn cabinet. So it brings out this big, huge bass sound. It's not like the rap bass that feels like somebody's punching you with a fist. It's more like, it's just wonderful. What can I say? I loved hearing myself in concert. That was so much fun. All right, let's close this one for right now. The next one, my discography, which of course needs a lot of updating. I've got about a dozen books and half a dozen albums that need to go in here, I think. Are they in any order? Oh yeah, they are by year if we look at these. And they got a project number. So within this website, we've got all these projects, which we're not going to obviously look on, but I guess we could if we wanted to. Like, I'm holding, it's not really linking. Like it says Project 31. Oh, there it is. It says if I click on that, it should go there. If I click on Project 31, no. There it is. It's on the name here somehow. I don't know why it's not going anywhere. It says there's a link there. Oh, there it is. I clicked on the picture. Okay, the picture is where it is. So if I click on the picture of each of those things in that discography, that's how you can find all the individual products. There's too many of them to list on the side. All right, so it does go there. And this is the 2014 album, the last album by American Zen. And these are the 10 songs. Oh, look at here. I'll show you. War Sucks. That's my song. I wrote that one. Friendly Fire. That was inspired by somebody else. Camp Terror. That was by somebody else. Every Breath I Breathe. Somebody else. Pictures of Home. Somebody. Oh, let's count them. How many are there? Friendly Fire. Camp Terror. Every Breath I Breathe. Pictures of Home. Not Memorial Day. I wrote that one. Bags. I forget. I might have wrote Bags on Their Head. That might be me. But Bombs from God was somebody else. So there's 6 songs for sure that, or 5, I guess. 5 songs for sure that I, in a sense, did. Oh, the Father-Son poem. That would make 6. So that would make, or is it? I don't know. I thought that was, let's just go 5. I'm not sure about the Father-Son, if that was my imagination or that really happened. Because I was writing the poem. I thought it was me, but by the time I got to the end of the poem, I realized I was kind of telling somebody else's story. It was like, I didn't know what the ending was going to be, I don't think, when I started that. So anyway, we'll say, but definitely 5 songs of this album. Half of this album was written by somebody else, but I don't know their names, so I get credit. They were a work for hire, spirit for hire. All right, where were we? Let's keep going here. Okay, so we'll close this one and we'll go to the next one. Resumes of Richard Del Connor, also called my resume list. So it's a list of all kinds of resumes. And these have not been updated in more than 10, 12 years. Of course, I haven't had that many jobs since then either. So they represent everything I did in the 90s and the first 10 years of this century. So that's what these represent, I guess. A whole bunch of different resumes. Oh, look at them. Wow, look at all these resumes. I went through I tried to make nice little professional resumes, I think. A resume, webman. Okay, so anyway, I do have a bunch of resumes. Who cares? I don't want a job. Just buy my stuff. Okay, close this. Okay, this is a project. Some of the projects I think were listed on the left to get you started. Here's a little plush amp. Now this one has 4 12-inch speakers, not 2 15 and a folding horn. So this one's totally different. This one sounds good in a smaller room. It's got a nice little punch to it. But it'll never have the big, hugest bass sound that the other one will have, which is fine. Most people don't need that, but I can provide it. I can do it with the other cabinet. It just sounds so awesome. And this amp, the PV, never liked PV. Didn't like PV brand. I ended up having to. I sold that. I still got this Fender. This is from the 60s. No, hold it. Do I have it? Yeah, I think I do have it. I thought I sold it, but I noticed it in my closet the other day. I guess I still have it. It's a spring reverb from the 1960s. So it sounds like. It's got that kind of sound, like if you listen to a Doors album when they're making sounds, or he's got one of these units and he puts it up and makes it sound like a boom. That's this unit right here. So yeah, this is an old style. So it's called a spring reverb. It actually sends the music down these electric springs to create that reverb sound. So yeah, the real springs, literal springs. That's why when you bounce it, it goes. You can hear all the springs bouncing around in it. But yeah, I still got that old spring reverb. In fact, the first Level 1 album, this is the reverb I used for that entire album. So if you hear reverb, that's this thing. That's this reverb right here. Okay, and I still got this amp, and I still got that cabinet, and I still got this guitar. This was my main guitar for years, and then when I got my Stratocaster, I turned it into a slide guitar. I raised the action up on it and put thicker strings on it. That became my slide guitar. All right, so yeah, you can look at that later. Okay, now what's the next thing it shows here? Next thing is Project Buddha Kung Fu Student Manual. I launched this school in 2008. $18 for the book. There may be actually places you can download the same book for cheaper, but $18.88 is what I was trying to charge because I wanted people to talk to me. I wanted them to call me up and ask me questions. I was hoping that. Anyway, okay. But some people have paid $18 for that book and liked it. And it's worth it. But it's... Anyway. But yeah, it's actually the best book I've ever written in terms of printing artistry. It is the finest book I've ever made. I'm very, very proud of it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful book, shall we say. It's got lots of pictures in it. But it's got the pictures in the back. It's like a school manual. It's much more... Yeah, it's really awesome. But anyway, this is a book I made in 2008 to launch the school. And unfortunately, in the next few years, I became homeless. So I wasn't able to keep going in that direction with that particular program, Quark Express. Otherwise, I could have published really beautiful books. How my life has been hampered by poverty. Because of poverty. Lots of things couldn't get done. All right, here we go. Let's close that. Okay, so this project is listed here. The End of the Line. This album was released in July, and then whenever Veterans Memorial Day is after that, is when the other album was recorded. But these were both recorded in 2014. Songs were written in 2013, maybe in 2014, but mostly I would say in 2013. And then the album was recorded and released by 4th of July, 2014. Okay, second to the last album by American Zen. And then Project, It's Your Shadow. This is a project from before I met my ex-wife. So I was actually, this is the only project I've ever had that got radio play. And then she came into my life and that ended lots of things I was doing. And yeah, what a shame, huh? What a shame. And I got all kinds of stories about the release of this and people coming over and marketing and advertising in newspaper. All right, I'm sorry, I'm going to get depressed. But yeah, they called this a casingle. Oh, what's unique about this casingle is it says right here, you can't see it. It says instrumental versions. Side 1 of this had 2 songs, and side 2 had 2 songs. So it was like a vinyl single, which has 2 songs on it. But in this case, the songs on side A had the lyrics, so they were what you were expecting. But then on side B, I released the songs as instrumentals, no vocals. And it was interesting because I released this and I promoted it, and it started going haywire in college radio. It started getting a lot of play. And when I got feedback from the radio stations and talking to CMJ, College Music Journal, that was the people who measured how well you were doing in college radio stations. They said, here's what it came down to. The instrumental version of It's Your Shadow with the great scream on it, that was the one that people liked the instrumental version best. And then the ballad, the really sad song about the girl dying in my arms, people liked the song with the vocal. So it was just interesting to do. That was one of the few things in my whole life I've had test marketing on, where I actually got to understand what a majority of the common people liked or didn't like. One of the only little marketing things I got. Okay, where were we? This project. Oh, here's the movie we were talking about before. In fact, this picture was taken probably about that time we were making it. In fact, it was. And getting all kinds of memories coming back. Oh, I was just talking to Scott the other day. See all these songs here? These songs have all been recorded, and they were going to be used in the movie 10 years ago. And so I was saying, Scott, let's put out an album called Kung Fu Cowboy Rock and Roll Movie 1. And maybe if the album got really popular, we could make the movie. But I haven't even heard from Scott since I last talked to him. So he's kind of, in a way, he's working. He decided he wanted to be more of a normal person. And he wanted to have a job and security, and then pursue in his spare time his music and movie career. Which is not the way to make it happen, because in the last 10 years, he hasn't really been able to get much done. Whereas I've been full-time movie and music production. I've gotten a lot more done than he has. So I think he made a mistake, going back to being a common person. But we were talking the other day, and that was one of the ideas I had, and I still think it might be a good idea. So we'll see. If I release this album of these, how many songs are there? Like 23? 23 songs right here. These are all songs that are supposed to be in the movie. Maybe this would be a cool album. It's a mixture of different albums. I think they're all American Zen. I'm just looking at the list right now. Oh no, they're Buddha Jen, but that happened during the 90s, so it was still me as Buddha Jen, so it's still part of the American Zen period. Yeah, I think every song here was written during that period. Okay, so here we go. So that's cool. Nothing to buy here? Well, maybe in the future you can buy this record. Okay, close that. Level 1 equals peace of mind. Look, you can buy it. You can buy it here. Now, if you click on this button, what happens? This is one of my PayPal buttons. I've got a Payloads, which is a subsidiary of PayPal. And I've got my stuff in storage there on a secure server, and it'll process so in other words, if you want to download this album for only $8.88, because remember, my price is from 20 years ago. $8.88, you can buy the entire album, and you'll get the whole thing for $8.88, and you can pay with PayPal, or you can check out in some other manner. So like if you click on this other button, then, hi Richard, they're getting my wallet. Oop, maybe I shouldn't be showing you this. But here, now you can see all my credit cards that I normally use, and you can add another one. So you can buy it with a credit card. Just letting you know that when you buy my buttons, you can use any credit card you want, or PayPal or whatever. Okay? Now, let's close that one. But yeah, you can buy that one. And you can buy this one right now. You can download the album right now. For just $8, you'd have the entire album. And that's another reason why I did a lot of art. I gave you the art, because if you download this album, you don't get the artwork for the album cover. So I created a web page at ShaolinCom.com where you can actually get all the graphics and print them up yourself. So people can actually make bootlegs really easily. But who cares? Nobody's going to buy your bootleg. The people don't make CDs or whatever anymore. Okay, whatever. Okay, so yeah, here's the level 2 album, once again with a button, and it tells a little bit about it. See, this is nice and succinct. This looks like modern marketing. I wasn't getting so carried away here. So this is kind of I like this. And then this page. There's the level 3, once again. CD baby, don't try, you can't buy your CDs, so I got to go through here and take all this, and you can't even buy the Amazon CDs. I mean, they could make you one, because they do have the album master, perhaps, and if they had all the artwork. But other than that, and CD baby, I didn't sell enough CDs, so my last couple that they had from a couple of my artists, they said, well, you can pay to have them ship them to you. And it's like, do I want to pay $5, or $10 to get one of my albums back, CDs back? So they just trashed them after a while, because they couldn't sell them. So anyway, but CD Baby is where I used to stock them, and I used to have to mail them to them, and then they would sell them for me. But yeah, so I'll have to take that off of there. That does not exist anymore. Then we come over here. Here's level 4, and once again, there's this book here. Maybe we'll talk about this. This deserves a website. Not that anybody cares. If anybody really cared about level 4, this is the story of the creation of level 4, which was an interesting story. You can see how it really developed and meandered over some weird stuff. Being a Freemason and all kinds of stuff. But this kind of tells the story more. Okay, and then what happens here? Okay, here's the part 2, which I told you I did kind of release. Didn't I mention it here? There's no button here, you see, but you can actually, there is a way you can buy this now. And I should put that button there if you want it. I think my drumming and my musicianship on this is 36 albums. The Kung Fu Cowboy record is 36 songs. But you could only fit 18 of those, because of the length of the songs, on one CD. So I split it in 2 CDs. So I recorded the whole album, and then I finished the first half, and I almost finished the second half. I had a few things that I didn't quite finish. And so that was one of the reasons I never really formally released it. But all these years later and never getting any farther on it, it's been as done as it's going to be for, about 15 years. So anyway... Anyway, there's the part 2 album, but the point I'm saying is it's 36 songs, and I always started recording in that order. So even the drums, by the time I was done recording that drums, I'm really proud of some, on the level 1, there's some really good songs like All Around the World, really good drumming on that song. But there's some really, really great drumming on that second half of that album, because I was getting, in a way better or more advanced. Okay, continuing on. Here's the Masonic Kung Fu book. Remember, we saw a cover of this before, the previous cover, which this is the newer cover. But you can buy this for $4.99. Just download the PDF right now, PDF ebook, and then you can watch it on whatever device you got. But yeah, or print it out. You can print it out too. Or you can go to Amazon and places and buy it too in paperback and hardcover. That's me performing, by the way, in tournaments. Okay, where am I? So there's a little bit of history here on me. Original entry about, here's me discovering Masonic Kung Fu, but we've gone too long, so we're not going to talk about it. This is the day that I discovered it. June 6, 2009, 669. But that's the actual day I discovered it, and it was an amazing discovery. I mean, it's one of those things like, wow, you got to check this out, but only Masons really appreciate it. So there are hundreds of Masons who know about Masonic Kung Fu and have seen me perform it and just think it's amazing, because it actually teaches you Freemasonry, Masonic, but using Kung Fu. It's a pantomime that shows you all the salutes and the hand sign, the secret messages, and tells the story of Hiram Abiff being murdered. It's an amazing Kung Fu form. Amazing. Okay, anyway, continuing on. The Memorial Day album, the last one by American Zen. It says now available at Shaolin Records, but I didn't put a button here. So I couldn't put a button here. I think I've uploaded it. We'll have to see. Remember, I was homeless at the time, so a lot of things. It's hard to complete things. Okay, next thing here. Another project. Sid's Place novel. This you can buy. What's this? CD Baby. This was the original logo of CD Baby. Hey, how'd I get over here? I clicked on that, and it took me over here to American Zen. This is a website of American Zen. I look forward to doing this together. This I wanted to make more of a hippie website. It's more psychedelic. Fun stuff and quests, a shirt for your dog, some stuff, but a lot of this stuff you can't buy anymore. This company that I was using called Cafe Press, anything that says Cafe Press, don't buy it. they've closed down a bunch of my stores and shops and are keeping all my money. So I got to take all this stuff off, or at least take all the links off. Because if you click on this, it might actually take you over here to see, like you go to Cafe Press and you can't buy it anymore. Please don't be mad. We can't find it. See, they've totally like erased me from Cafe Press. So, because I didn't sell anything, or at least not much. So they've wiped me out. I don't exist. Okay, so yeah, you can't buy a lot of this merchandise, which means I got to put all that money just to not sell something. I need to invest in making it so you can't buy that stuff. That hurts. Okay, where were we? Back here, we got my resumes. Next one, another project, the Tai Chi Magic one, which you can buy. Got to take that CD baby thing because they're not making CDs anymore. I'm not supplying them with CDs, so you won't get it. They'll say, "Oh, somebody ordered a CD," and I'll say, "Well, too bad." Give them their money back, and because they wouldn't stock them, they wouldn't keep my CDs. They just throw them away if nobody bought them within 6 months. So anyway, if you're gonna want, anyway, yeah. Moving along. Utah Phase 1. Now, this poetry book combines lyrics from both the first two American Zen albums, Level 1 and Level 2. And a bunch of poems and stories that don't exist on the album, of course. So it's a book. Sorry if I keep bumping the table, which may make bumps here. Yeah, so this, but it's a cool book. And I designed this motorcycle, by the way. This was drawn before we left for Utah. And that's Michelle on the back of it. And me, the coyote. Do I look more handsome? Here's me without the dog face. Here's me with dog face. Which do you prefer? But yeah, I designed this motorcycle. But if I did put an engine in here, I'd put a Triumph. A lot less weight and plenty of power. And I had a Triumph chopper. But it didn't have extended forks like this. It only had 10-inch extensions. This has got a bit of more of a rake angle on it. And it looks like it's probably like a, I don't know, 16-inch extension. But I had 10-inch extension on my Triumph chopper. Okay, so let's see. Okay, moving along here. But yeah, Utah Phase 1. Get this book. Get all my books. I mean, if you buy something you don't like it, tell me. Nobody's ever complained that they didn't like something they bought from me yet. So, it's got to at least be worth your money. And I need that money. More than you do. Okay, anyway, here. Oh, how do we get to that resume list again? I guess that's it then. Okay. Back to that homepage. So there we go. We did our journey through Richard Del Connor. That was supposed to be the podcast. I'm just under an hour according to the timer here on my phone. Okay, so yeah, that's good enough for now. Lots of stuff to adventure in here. We need to devote a bunch of podcasts to just exploring this website after I update it. All right, so hey, yeah, glad to give you a 1-hour tour through a website that's got a lot of stuff in it, but could have a lot more stuff in it.